to get the ball going. Yes! Welcome to our 60th Emuna class. We have the pure pleasure of hosting very special guest, a returnee to our Emuna class number 60, Liron Mazor, all the way from Eretz Israel, from the Holy Land.
Baruch Hashem.
Amen.
Yes. Not in South Africa anymore.
Yes.
Nothing against South Africa or South Africans, but Israel is the best.
We had our first two Soulful Money classes from Liron Mazor from South Africa. We zoomed them in, but here we are in person, our second time together. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thanks, Eli. It's great to be here.
Amazing. And Rav Shalom Arush, unfortunately, will not be attending the class. We very much keep praying for him, and we wish him Refuah Shleima, as well as all our wonderful other guests who've come in the past. We give only blessings to all that come into the studio, especially today, Rav Dayan Elgrod, who is going to be representing our wonderful rabbi. And we're not going to go into that story again, are we?
Yes, we are.
We are? Oh, no. I'm trying to stay away from that. No, we love having Rav Dayan Elgrod being the representative of the Rav, and he does an excellent job, but we do miss the Rav tremendously. We just want to now give a blessing to our guests, as well as all our staff and all of the world, to be rid of Corona in all forms. To everyone have a Refuah Shleima. Everyone's been fighting off all kinds of challenges these last bunch of months, so we could finally make this class. And also Tila Rivka Bas Masha, Baruch Hashem, Refuah Shleima, and Rav Shalom ben Yamna. That's the name of the Rav. Everyone keep praying, keep having in mind, dedicating Emuna Global. And this is also Lahavta ben Chaim L'Chaim, the elevation to Rabbi Yerachmel Daniel ben Gedale, the son of Gedale Fenster. We appreciate your dedication to our Emuna class, to the Rav's teachings, and we wish you a good week, a healthy rest of winter, the good preps for the spring, Purim Cotton Sameach, if we even say that, Adar of joy, and share Emuna Global. We're going to get into that, hopefully, yes?
Hopefully, yes.
What Purim Cotton is all about. Anyway, once again, you have the Wonders of Gratitude book from Rav Shalom Arush. It's the latest book that we put out, and we do have the campaign for love of all people. You can get that booklet on our wonderful website, breslev.com. And we also, thankfully, have a lot of wonderful feedback on our classes that we're putting up. Even, unfortunately, with Rav Arush not here, we still have a huge amount of content from all his classes he's given over the last many, many months in the studio, as well as all his classes he's given throughout the world, including the Holy Land. We've recorded everything and slowly getting all these Emuna clips. Global is a big opportunity. So here, someone wrote, lots of wisdom, Rav Arush. That's very true. Blessed be Hashem. This is so needed right now. Thank you, Rabbi Arush. There you go. See, people are tuning in. Thank you for these wonderful stories. Someone wrote in response to Rav Ralph Cohen's excellent classes. We put up a few last week. Is Rav Shalom Arush better? Someone wrote, blessing everyone. I hope the Rav is doing better. Pray for the Rav. The Rav made a big change in my life. And in this was all in last week's Emuna class here. Dov's class, he wrote, thank you for having me. He really enjoyed being here. Dov Halprin. Someone else wrote, I saw 3 times your class because your class is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Eli.Goldsmith's class. May Hashem bless you in all your projects. Rav Laser, which is my other name people know me as. Thank you for bringing Kedusha to the whole world. We all need Emuna and Hashem Yisbarach, faith in Hashem, faith in ourselves, faith in each other. May Mashiach come soon. Amen.
Amen.
Someone else wrote on my class, Stephen, he wrote Shalom. And to Rav Arush's class, thank you for sharing it. Tada, Baruch Hashem. What a beautiful testimony. Nissim's past classes with us when he was here with the Rav. Someone else wrote, man, this is gold. That was in reference to Gedale Fenster's classes. And someone else wrote, Shalom. We have to learn to put aside our pseudo-wisdoms that get us from the Chochmah and Bina, especially from the wonderful books of Mishlei and Koheles. That was in reference to Rav Elgrod's lesson last week, correct?
About the tzaddik. Yes.
About the tzaddik, exactly. Now, thank you, Hashem, for everything you give us, all our team, our guests, our MC, Rav Dayan Elgrod, and all our wonderful translators. We thank Hashem for all these classes, and we wish our guest, with his excellent energy, his course, he has also a wonderful website, and his sincere soul with smiles and partnership that he's given so many years of connection to our wonderful mosters, and we wish him success. We're looking forward now to go ahead with our Emuna class 60. Do we have a focus before we get to our special guest? that you'd like to just start off with, so get us in the spirit of the times we're in? Rav Dayan Elgrod.
With pleasure. First of all, welcome, Liron. I'm delighted to see you. Liron is not just a guest, he's also a friend. So it's a delight to have him again in the studio. As I already said in the previous classes, and I am going to repeat it again, I do apologize for being such a pathetic substitute for the Rav.
Not agreeing.
I prefer being an adequate translator, but unfortunately the Rav is not here, so you are going to have to cope with it. Again, I apologize. Accept my sincere apologies. I'm going to talk about a point about Purim Koton, which is going to be very relevant, with the help of Hashem, to Liron's shir. We are having, in this year, this is a leap year. We're now in the Hebrew year of 5782. And a leap year means that we have, instead of 12 months, we have 13 months in the year. Where the month of Adar, we have 2 months of Adar. We have Adar the first and Adar the second, and all the actual mitzvahs that are related to Purim and to Adar apply on the second month, not on the first month. Nevertheless, we do have on this month of Adar Rishon, the first Adar, what's called Purim Katan. The Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah in Orach Chaim, Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim, in chapter 697, which is the last chapter of Orach Chaim, they speak about it and they say that you're not allowed to fast on that day. You don't say Tachnun. You should try and be a bit festive on that day, but there's nothing that specific. And the question is, what is so unique about Purim Koton? What does it come to teach us? What are we supposed to learn from it? And this is something that will apply to Liron's class. We know that a leap year, the reason we have a leap year from an astronomical point of view is because we count our calendar according to the lunar cycle. Now, there is a difference between the lunar cycle and the solar cycle. And in order to make sure that they are compatible, every several years, we have a leap year. In a cycle of 19 years, we have 7 leap years. And that way, we always have a sort of compatibility between the lunar cycle and the solar cycle. Now, why do we have a difference between the lunar cycle and the solar cycle? The Midrash tells us that at the beginning, when Hashem created the world, the sun and the moon were the same size. They were both considered to be equal rulers of the sky. And then the moon turned to Hashem and said to him, listen, it's not relevant that 2 kings should share the same crown. Me, the moon, and the sun, we're the same size. We have the same powers. We can't both be kings who rule one kingdom. I suggest, said the moon to Hashem, that you change it. What the moon was actually saying is, make sure that the sun is pushed aside and I get the crown. And Hashem said to the moon, well, in that case, if you're not content with what you have been given, if you're not content with your share, go and make yourself smaller. And the moon, says the Midrash, became smaller, became less relevant than the sun. For example, the moon has got no light source of its own. It only reflects the light that it gets from the sun. Our sages say that whenever we have a leap year, which is making a compatibility between the lunar cycle and the solar cycle, between the moon and the sun, it's actually trying in a way to mend this sin of the moon that was not content with its share. And that's why Purim Koton is a special festival, a special day which is dedicated to mending this point of being content without share. And how does this relate to what Liron is going to teach us? Because the Mishnah in Tractate Avos, in the 2nd chapter, in the first Mishnah, tells us, Ezehu Ashir, who is a person who's considered to be rich, Hasamech Bechelko, a person who's content with his share. And our sages say that if you're looking for a good virtue, a good spiritual path to become rich, the path is be content with your share. And I'm going to end with a small story and an example. What does it mean to be content with your share? It's not as easy as you think. You've got to work on it. Last week, someone in Israel won the biggest prize in the Israeli lottery, 80 million shekel. Now, okay, he had some tax deduction and he had to give approximately 30.4 million shekel to the government, and he only got 49.6 million shekel, which is still very good. Now, the reaction of most people who heard this story that he won 80 million shekel was, whoa, I wish it was me. Now, that just shows you're not content with your share. Because if you didn't win, that means you're not supposed to win. That means that was not your share. It's not what Hashem wanted from you. If we are looking for a path to be rich, which is what Purim Koton is dedicated to, we need to be content with our share. Say thank you to Hashem for all the good things He's given to us. Thank you for the difficulties that we have. Thank you for the hardships. And this is the new book that we are showing here. Eli, can I please have the book?
Yes, sure.
Yes. The wonders of gratitude. One has to be content with your share and say thank you for what you have. And I'm just going to end with a small example of our week's segment. Our week's Parsha, the segment, was Parsha Tetzaveh. In the Torah tells us that Aaron Cohen had a special clothing, a special ornament called Choshen HaMishpat. It was a jewel, a clothing, which had on it 12 gems, which represented the 12 tribes of Am Yisrael. And it says that this ornament was placed on Aaron Cohen's heart. The Gemara in Tractate Shabbos on page 139 on the first side says, do you know why Aaron got this special ornament was placed on his heart? Because when he was told that his younger brother, Moshe Rabbeinu, is going to be the leader of Am Yisrael, and he's only going to be second in command, even though he was older, even though for all those years he was in Egypt while Moshe Rabbeinu was outside of Egypt, says the Torah, V'ra'acha v'samach b'libo. Hashem says to Moshe, when Aaron, your brother, will see you, even though he's older, even though he literally should have gotten the leadership, he will be happy and content with his share that you became the leader and not him. And because he was happy in his heart, truly happy, he got the ornament of Choshen HaMishpat, which was placed on his heart. You see, being happy with your share will give you riches, will give you happiness, will give you health. And we're now going to go on to some practical advice how to really reach that from Liron Mazor.
Yes, we want to introduce and thank Liron Mazor again for coming. Where in Eretz Yisrael did you come, Liron?
From Telmond.
Telmond. Wow.
Telmond. It's a big drive, an hour and a half.
Thank you so much. We really sincerely appreciate it. We'll obviously send you off with some gifts and books from the Rav.
You do realize the irony that the South African, the ex-South African, who for him an hour and a half drive is what you're driving the suburbs of Joburg, is telling us now in Israel, it's a long drive. Liron, you have become an Israeli.
Yes.
Mazel tov.
Also, a lot of it is traffic though, isn't it?
No, thank God. I took the 6 highway, so I was here really quickly.
Oh,
and listen, the truth is it's not that far because I enjoy it. And I just drive and I think, wow, this is a bit surreal driving into Yerushalayim every time.
Wow.
And like, who could ever expect that? And what a great honor.
It is an honor to have you. And
so thank you.
We're also honored to have Rav Dayan Elgrod just introduce the class. And he is a shliach from the Rav. You're also today a shliach from the Rav to represent and give over Emuna teachings. Remember in the previous classes we had you talk about the Garden of Riches and other concepts. So we'd like to go ahead now how to apply it in a more active way. Now, please lead us.
Great. So firstly, Rav Elgrod and I really do go a long way back, and he is one of my favorite speakers. I've actually learned how to translate from Hebrew to English and vice versa using all the techniques that I've learned from Rav Elgrod. So thank you very much. You know, he has a way that he takes the Rav, what the Rav says, and he brings in his own style and his own explanation in it. So unfortunately, as we know, the Rav can't be here, but geez, what a great honor. As you know, I could sit listening to you for hours. I was just busy sitting here and thinking, geez, let's rather turn this around and let me just rather listen to you all day with your stories and how you make Torah so exciting. The theme really for tonight is action, action, and more action. And how that came about is I went to go visit the Ravas in Yerushalayim about 3 weeks ago, and I said to him, I said, I feel so frustrated because we do all this talking, but we're not getting anywhere. We're not doing anything about it. We look at Am Yisrael. I look at where we are as an Am, as a nation, and I think that we've forgotten what it means to be Jewish. We've forgotten what our heritage is. We've forgotten what our direction is. We somehow have become a bit confused and entangled with so many other different thoughts from so many different nations that I'm not sure we really realize who we are and our strength and where it comes from. And tonight's role and discussion is really to try and add 10 practical steps that we could follow to try and help us be more productive, to please God, create more wealth, and also to be able to create more in our lives. Now, what's interesting for me is that last week I probably had I had a terrible week in business. Terrible. Normally they say whatever you touch turns to gold. The opposite was for me. And I was getting more frustrated that by the time Thursday night came, I was a complete wreck. I was frustrated. I was angry. I was everything. And then Friday I was reviewing my notes and I thought, oh, what great notes. I don't know who this person is, but wow, he made great notes. So I can say to you that these points are points that I implement in my life. And it is so easy to go off the track and to forget it. And unfortunately, whether we like it or not, it's just repeating and repeating and repeating. I remember that when I met Rav Arush many, many years ago, thank God I've known the Rav now for probably about 12 years, we were in Uman together, and I went to go ask him about my current wife, to ask his advice, should I marry her, etc. He said, yes, definitely, you must marry her, but you must read my book, The Garden of Wisdom, at least once a month. And I can't say I've been able to do that, but my friends still joke with me because they still see me reading the book. And the reason I keep reading it is because it's so easy to forget that you can be in the moment and your old habits kick in and the emotion kicks in and the worry kicks in. You're thinking, oy vey, what's going to happen? How can it be that each day another deal gets worse and worse and worse? That comes even Thursday, another deal went worse. I thought this is impossible. So these action points I've actually implemented myself, and I really believe in them. And I think my idea that I wanted to do is to say to everybody is that let's share these together. Let's share them with as many people as we can, not for any other reason, but to just bring us closer to Hashem. That's the essence of who we are as a people, and we can't forget that. Our power comes purely from Hashem and from no one else. And we need that connection, and that connection keeps us alive. That connection keeps us happy, and that connection, exactly what Rav Elgrod told us now, is learning to be happy with your lot, is the power and the essence of what it means to be a Jew. So let's take these points, let's understand them. I'm going to ask the Rav to try and contribute some of his advice and wisdom as I go through each of them. What I wanted to do slightly differently is that within my own business, I do coaching, and I do try and help clients understand the perspective of where they are in life and how they can change things. So I've put a few points together, some guidelines. I'm going to refer back to the Rav, who will further enhance what I've said. And also, Eli, I'd love your advice and any points that you've got that you could add to it as well.
I'm so excited to hear your wise words and experience. Thank you.
Good. Because the theme is action, I said tonight we have to take big action. So we're going to be giving away 100 Garden of Riches, if I can have that book.
Yes, you can. Garden of Riches.
Free.
I'm so happy I brought it here.
Right. That's gifted by me and my family and my wife in my wife's honor, that we will give this to the first 100 people that send us a message. You can send it either to myself if you know me personally. Eli, you can tell us just now where to be able to do it. But
yes, everyone should just reach out to our platforms, to my email, to DM. Hit me up with your email, as it's written here, email and address and phone number, and obviously your name. And we'll compile a long list. 100 names is an amazing achievement. 100 books, 100 people who can gain true Ashiras, yes, true riches, the Garden of Riches, and it will all be in merit to Rav Liron Mazor and his wonderful family. Please God.
Amen.
Do you know what I love about coming here is they all think I'm a Rav. I'm not a Rav. But I love the fact that they keep referring to me as a Rav.
What you just offered is something the rabbi should offer.
This is the best place to come get smicha. Because it's the easiest. I don't have any tests. I don't have to worry about anything.
True. If you go to the Rav Elgrod's kollel, it's not so easy. I don't think.
No.
A little bit more tough.
Yes.
Okay, point number 1, stop being a victim. Now, boy, is this the favorite place for me sometimes to be. And I said to you, Thursday night came, and boy, oh boy, was I a victim. I was feeling so sorry for myself. And then I was getting angry, and I was saying, Hashem, I'm doing everything that you're telling me to do. I'm doing it by the book. What's going on here? How can it be that whatever I do, it's just not working? Then I was feeling depressed. Then I went and started to eat more. Then I'm saying, anyway, one thing led to the next. And as you can imagine, I'm sure you've gone through this yourself, that it really wasn't a great evening for me at all. And I even woke up feeling depressed and thinking, geez, what's wrong with me? Like, I don't get it. I'm talented. I'm ambitious. I can drive. I can do all these different things, but it's just not turning to gold. And I had to take a step back and say, okay, I know the fundamentals. Let me go back to my own fundamentals. And I started to read my notes, and I started to say, okay, great. Fundamental number 1, let's remember, don't be a victim. The reason you don't want to be a victim is because the minute you start getting sad, you close yourself in. The minute you close yourself in, you lose that connection with Hashem. The minute you lose the connection with Hashem, Hashem can't bring more into your life. And also your head becomes smaller. You yourself feel smaller. So how can you expand and be able to expand to the world when you're feeling so small yourself? The Yetzer Hara loves having fun with this. The Yetzer Hara will come and say, oh, Liron, definitely, I agree with you. And then you're playing the Yetzer Tov against the Yetzer Hara. It's a fight you can never win. So you have to turn around and say, okay, sometimes I feel when I get really down like this, go to sleep. Just go to bed and try and wake up with a new, fresh mind. I know that I've heard before, and Rav Elgrod can correct me, is that sometimes when a shaman needs to just get a bit of a reconnection with Hashem, come down, wake up, and start the day fresh. And every day can change, and nothing is in black and white. It's just sometimes our perception. Now, what is as important about being a victim is what we put out there becomes our reality. So if we're going to turn around and say we are a victim, well, that will become the reality. If we're going to turn around and say, well, we are successful, we are all this, we're abundant, that's what you can create. And I'm by no means saying it's easy. I'm saying to you, I myself suffer with this. But the importance is knowing what the fundamentals are and keep working at them day in and day out. There is no reason why you can't achieve this. And even if you have a down day, you need to know that that's normal. You know, somebody once explained to me, life is like the seasons. There's 4 different seasons. It's summer, autumn, winter, spring, and then summer again. And that's life. And you can have all 4 seasons sometimes in one day, in 1 month, in 1 year, in 1 week. Last week was completely winter for me. And now I'm saying to you, let's together turn this around. The next point, which is really important to understand, is that don't feel sorry for yourself, because everybody at the moment is going through challenges. My personal belief is that we're all getting ready for Mashiach. I can be completely wrong. I'm not a Rav, and that's why I'm going to pass everything else to Rav Elgrod to answer. But I think that we're all sort of in the washing machine. And sometimes we have to go through all these ridiculous or crazy challenges over and over again to just help clean ourselves up. Because if we are going into a period of Mashiach, the level is going to be much greater. And that means that we do, unfortunately, whether we're not like it or not, all need to be able to be cleaned and get ourselves ready for that experience. And that could be one of the positives that you need to keep in mind, to say, well, not that you need to say, oh, it's not me and not anybody else. It's all of us are going through this. And it's not that you need to look and say, oh, geez, I feel good because he's also going through this challenge. The Rav said it very clearly. You need to focus on yourself, and it's all about yourself. But all of us need to slowly be able to reconnect with Hashem. And this is part of that process that we're going through. And yes, geez, it's hard. It's really hard. But we're going to do it. And we're going to do it together. And you know what? We're all going to get there, and we're going to push all of us. Because whatever you've learned here today, take it and push it on and share it with other people. The next point, and I'm going to ask the Rav to explain this, is that we said by being a victim, you can close your gateways. That was one of the first points that I mentioned. So Rav, maybe if you can elaborate on the points that I've said, and also maybe take it a step further in terms of why you don't want to be a victim.
That was beautiful. It was a very nice idea. Rav Arush says this, and he repeats this concept all the time. He says, why does a person feel that he is a victim? A person feels that he's a victim because he thinks that Hashem does not love him. He thinks that Hashem hates him. He thinks that Hashem is trying to hurt him and to pain him. And he says to himself, oh, look at my life. Look at how difficult everything is going on for me. Now, when a person treats himself that way and regards Hashem that way, as if Hashem hates him, as if Hashem is trying to pain him and to harm him, what do you think is going to happen to him? The minute a person does that, he is closing all his gates. All his way of getting an abundance from the heavenly realm is closed, because Hashem is saying to him, my son, I love you. If you don't realize that I love you, I'm going to have to give you a few more difficult trials for you to really see how much I love you. Imagine us as parents. Would we want our child to come to us and say, Daddy, you hate me, you never give me anything, you don't want anything from me, you're always giving me such difficult things? We have to strengthen the belief that Hashem loves us and that everything that we're going through is for our better good, whether we understand it or whether we don't, and even if we have a difficult time. And once we strengthen this belief that Hashem loves us, that's how we're opening the heavenly gateways. And I'm going to tell you why. The thing that Hashem hates the most is when a person is a crybaby. When Am Yisrael started crying in vain for what they thought was going into Eretz Yisrael, with the whole story they had with the spies and the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Gemara says, Hashem said to them, you cried now in vain. I'm going to make sure that this day that you were crying, Tisha B'Av, is going to become a day that for generations on, you're going to be crying. Hashem does not like crybabies. And if you constantly think Hashem doesn't love you and you complain, you're closing your gateways. So first of all, start believing Hashem loves me. Everything is for my better good. The gateways will open.
Wow. Great.
Amazing.
Eli, anything you wanted to add? Or
I just want to mention one point before I forget, that one of the things I hope we're going to discuss, because people have asked some questions about Mechitzas HaShekel, Purim Katan. The way I imagine it's going to come up is in the idea of charity. Is that going to be a...
Yes, we do have the point.
Okay, amazing.
Point number 6 is charity.
Okay, so we'll get there. So we're just going to be patient. Everyone, hang in and stay tuned to the full action plan, 10-point action plan. It's going to make a difference to us, to you, and we once again appreciate Liron coming in his expert business level of experience to give it over to us in a free level. Remember, he's someone who this is part of your business. Is that right?
So part of my business is I'm in the process of creating a course called Soulful Money. I've got somehow delayed in Aliyah, which took a bit of time. We had a baby in between, which also took a bit of time. So hopefully we're getting back on track. It's something in the back of my mind. I've already prepared a lot of the tools. A lot of the material is ready. I just need to get it up and running. The idea behind it is exactly what I said to you earlier on, is that I think that we've forgotten what it means to be Am Yisrael. We've forgotten, and we've forgotten our fundamentals. And the course is really there to say, okay, great, how does a Jew create more wealth? Or how does a Jew learn to be happy with what they've got? How does a Jew find the essence of what it means to be a Jew? And how do we create our lives around that, but also to be able to say wealth isn't a bad thing. Wealth is a good thing, but it does come with certain fundamentals and principles. And without those principles, well, then we're no different to anybody else. And we are different. We come with a lot more responsibility. Hashem doesn't turn around and say to us, oh, you're the chosen nation, therefore you're better than. There's no better than. It's more that we have a responsibility to turn around and say, our responsibility is to uplift and to make sure we're doing it correctly. And that's what the Torah is there for, and that's what our fundamentals are. And really the course is there to try and say, let's get back to those fundamentals and let's do it together. So let's get to point number 2. Point number 1, we said stop being the victim. Point number 2, say thank you to Hashem. The Rav alluded to it earlier on, to say even good and bad, you should always say thank you to Hashem. Now, I used to think, okay, this is so easy, so simple, not a problem. So in the beginning, I'd say thank you to Hashem for all the good. It was so easy. 1 or 2 bad things came, and it's, thank you, Hashem. This is amazing. It's so simple. Anyway, lo and behold, those tests were the easy tests. When the big test came, I failed them outright. But I'm not here to say that I failed them. I'm saying that all of us go through these challenges, and that's really what I'm trying to share with you, is that sometimes we hear of these great high-level people that have done unbelievable achievements in their lives. Some of us haven't, but some of us know what we're striving towards. And I wanted to use again the example of last week. This is my fundamental that I know. 1, stop being the victim. 2, start saying thank you. Just look and see the brachot that you've got in your life, because there's hundreds. 2 years ago, I almost died from COVID. Thank God I'm alive today, and I'm living in Israel, and I've got a magnificent house, I've got a magnificent wife, and I've got a magnificent car. Not that I'm looking for any ayin hara, so please don't send it my way, because as I was saying that, I thought, this isn't the best thing to be saying.
No, I'm going to be giving you more blessing, please, yes, God, especially with all the giving you're doing, with the books and everything.
But I'm sharing it with you because I think sometimes it's just nice to know that other people also go through challenges, and to let our guards down and just share it. And the essence of today is to say these are the fundamentals, the action points. This is what I was trying to share with the Rav, and I think that the easiest way to understand these points is when I share examples of what have gone through my life and the challenges that I go through. And not because I'm looking for anything, but to say it's normal. It really is normal, and that's the life that we're all leading at the moment. So let's understand this. Say thank you to Hashem. You go through a difficult time, you turn around and say, Hashem, thank you. Wow. The Rav's got a beautiful song. Why does it go? Thank you, Hashem, for everything that you do. Thank you, Hashem, for everything that you do. Now, I love that song because every time I forget, I keep saying, okay, what did the Rav say? Thank you, Hashem. I sing to myself, so no one really hears it. I've been told I'm not the best singer, but I still love it because it's the best way to remind yourself to say, thank you, Hashem. Now, you can have dark days, you can have difficult days, but you make sure you need to get yourself out of those days. That's so important. And that's the idea of trying to bring out these 10 points to say, great, let's use them as our touch points to say, great, this happens, let's change it. So, Rav, I'm going to hand over to you because I also love listening to you. These are the questions that I've got for you tonight. How do we change our mindset from being a victim to a person of gratitude?
Going with the next question, so we'll answer them all together.
Okay, great. How does gratitude open up our gateways with Hashem? And why are we focusing so much on our gateways is, if you can think about it from above your head, there's a connection that we've got that goes directly to Hashem. That can be blocked because of our thoughts and the ideas that are going on in our head, that we sometimes need to turn around and say, well, how do we reconnect that? Because the abundance comes directly from Hashem. The more connected we are to Hashem, the easier it is for abundance to flow into our lives. Now, it is important. Exactly the Rav's point earlier on. Sometimes we're not supposed to be abundant, but we can be abundant in our mindset to know that we're happy with what we've got. So this isn't to say that, everybody out there has to be exceptionally wealthy. this, more than anything else, is to turn around and say, everybody, here we are to try and connect to Hashem because we want to, as much as possible, be able to do our connection with Hashem much more than we've been able to in the past. So the next question we've got is the gateways. The question after that we've got is, why do we want our gateways open to Hashem?
Okay, first of all, the whole aspect of gratitude is something which is also very relevant to the time that we're now in, which is Purim Koton. There's a beautiful chiddush by the Chatam Sofer. He brings it in several places. He brings it in his response in Or Chaim in chapter 208. He says, there is a mitzvah from the Torah of thanking Hashem. On Purim, even though Purim is a festival that our sages told us that we've got to do, this is a festival that our sages mended, nevertheless, thanking Hashem for the miracle is something, says the Chatam Sofer, we're obligated from the Torah. Says the Chatam Sofer, on a leap year, even though our sages decided that all the different commandments that they decreed will be pushed on to the next month, the mitzvah of thanking Hashem is not something they have the power of pushing off. That's why Purim Koton, he says, is a day dedicated thanking Hashem for the miracles that we had. And he says, in a leap year, Purim Koton is even greater than the regular Purim, because on Purim Koton we have a commandment from the Torah, thanking Hashem. And on the regular Purim, we only have commandments that are from our sages, which is reading the Megillah, and giving Mishloach Manot, and giving gifts to the poor, which we're going to speak about this in the future. We're going to speak about this soon, about charity. Now, why saying thank you is so important? There is a beautiful, very important Hasidic book called the Bat Ayin. The Bat Ayin says at the end of the book of Bereshis, the end of Pashas Vayechi, that the way to open all the judgments that a person has upon him, the way to cancel them, the way to make them annulled is by saying thank you to Hashem. Why is that? The answer is, when I say thank you to Hashem for everything that happens to me, I am actually surrendering to Hashem. I am subduing myself to Hashem's will. I am saying, Hashem, I am your servant. I am your slave. Whatever you do with me, I accept with happiness. Now, we have a rule in the Torah, and that is that a master must take care of his slave. He must provide him with everything that he and his family needs. If I surrender myself to Hashem, if I am willing to acknowledge the fact that I am Hashem's servant, that I am Hashem's slave, that I will do whatever Hashem wants me. And this is a positive thing. This is not a negative thing, because what greater master can we have than Hashem? Then Hashem will treat me like a master is supposed to treat his slave. He will give me everything that I need, and the gateways will be open. And this is something that applies especially to riches and to finance, because the verse says, Hashlech al Hashem yehavecha v'hu yechalkelecha. Throw on Hashem your weight. Subdue yourself, surrender yourself to Hashem, and Hashem will provide for you financially. So we can see that by saying thank you, by surrendering to Hashem, we acknowledge our position as Hashem's slaves, and we will get such an abundance that we will not even know what to do with it.
Oh, amen.
Amen.
Our third point is guard your eyes. This point is specifically for men. I felt when I was going through and trying to think on what the top 10 points were, I kept much in mind some of the challenges that people are going through in today's generation, thinking of also some of the discussions that I've had with Rav Arush at different times. And guarding your eyes is a very spiritual act. And really what it boils down to specifically for men is learning not to spill their seed. And unfortunately in this generation, it seems to be something that's taken for granted to self-pleasure yourself and to do things that can bring you enjoyment. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there is a problem when it's not within the confines of Judaism. It's not in the confines of connecting with Hashem. And the reason it's not in the confines of connecting with Hashem is it comes back to our previous point. Hashem said to us, we're the chosen nation, not because we're better, but because we've got more responsibility. And that responsibility is to make sure that we're holy. And that holiness is the holiness that we bring into the world. And when we're forgetting that, well, then how can we elevate the world and bring it up to a different level? We're forgetting about what we were created for. So personal holiness is a very, very big challenge. And recently I came across a website called Guard Your Eyes. It's guardyoureyes.com. Originally I spoke to Eli about potentially bringing them as a guest, and Eli said we could do another session with it. They obviously saw my soft-heartedness, and they asked me for a donation, so I've become involved in their business, and I find it very hard sometimes when people give me a very good story to say no, and especially something that I believe very strongly in, and I think we need a lot of support with. So again, this is an action point. Instead of turning around and saying, well, I can't, I don't know what to do, I'm saying to you, this is a website that's been created to give you a lot of support and guidance when it comes to personal holiness. And it's an unbelievable website. They're really spending a lot of time, and there's good support in it. And they've really given a lot of thought about the structure and how the support works. And I'd highly encourage anybody to go through it. And also, maybe your children need it. Maybe other people that you know need it. The problem that we've got with self-pleasure is that, again, it's closing the gateways. And the problem with that is that you bring up, I don't want to use the word demons. I can't think of the right word, but it is like demons where your mind gets filled with such garbage that the reality of what goes on around you, you can never be happy because you've always lived in this imagination. And that imagination always feeds your thoughts and your processes when it comes to learning again to be happy with your lot. And I don't mean to be repeating myself, but I think it really is a great fundamental. And I think it's a great way to tie everything into that. And it is important to make sure that, again, we focus on connecting with Hashem, because ultimately the money that we bring in, we want it to be pure, we want it to be holy, we want it to uplift everybody and think of the good that you could do. You know, there's a great speaker that my wife loves hearing. His name's John Kehoe. And he came out with a brilliant thing. He said, love the good that money can do for you. So he's not saying that money is a bad thing. Many people think money is bad, but love the good that money can do for you. Look how amazing it is that you can help different organizations, to help distribute books like this, to be able to try and elevate and bring more goodness into the world. I mean, what a great honor. And then to be able to just share as much as you can. It really is a great way for us to fulfill our role and our journey in this world. So, Rav, again, I'm going to hand it back to you, and maybe you can give us a bit more guidance to help us to understand why it's so important to guard our eyes and to have personal holiness. And I know that you want me to give you all my questions. So last importantly, why does it again close off us, our gateways to Hashem?
Okay, speaking about personal holiness and guarding your eyes is a very, very deep issue and something that one can elaborate on many different aspects. I'm going to concentrate specifically on what Liron is speaking about, which is wealth and abundance and riches. I heard once from one of my teachers and mentors, Rav Mordechai Eliyahu, blessed memory, he said that the most important thing that we ask for, that we want when we're asking for riches, is not quantity. We're looking for quality. We're looking for money that's blessed. And he gave an example. Many of us have had this situation. We made, for example, 100 shekel, $100. We put it on our wallet, and for some miraculous reason, that note of $100 managed to suffice for the whole week. We managed to pay off the debt and buy a present and do this and do that and buy this and buy that. And at the end of the week, we even had change. And on other cases, we can make a much larger sum of money, $1,000, $2,000, and within a second, that money evaporates. We suddenly had to pay because the washing machine broke off. We had to pay for some medical bill or something that was unexpected, and we didn't even get to enjoy the money. And he said that we need to ask Hashem for money that is blessed. We're looking more for the quality than for the quantity. Now, all of us want to have an abundance and riches which are, as Liron said, which are pure and which are good. We're not looking to get money that comes from negative places. Now, we could all go and rob a bank. If you're thinking about that, please contact us and we'll have a good talk after this share, okay? We can all do that. Some of us will be better at it, some of us will be worse, but the money is cursed money. It's not blessed money. It's money that was accumulated through sin, that was accumulated through theft. That is not something that's going to have any blessing from Hashem. Now, this applies to guarding our eyes and personal holiness, because when you open your eyes, when you look at something that is not yours and you lust for it, that means that you are actually a thief. You're the same thing like a thief who looks at someone else's car and wants it and starts thinking, how am I going to get this car? How am I going to take it out of the hands of the person who owns it? A person who doesn't guard his eyes is not an honest person. He lusts for something that is not his, that will never be his, that he is not allowed to have. So that person is actually a spiritual thief. And a person who's a spiritual thief will get no blessing from Hashem. The gateways will close because Hashem does not like thieves. The verse says that Hashem hates people who lie and people who steal. And if Hashem hates those people, why will Hashem give them an abundance of riches? The minute we open our eyes, we become spiritual thieves. The gateways will close. We will not get a pure, good and high quality abundance and riches. And that's why that is so important.
Great. This is the first time I've ever been with a rabbi that has asked people to please contact him if they're going to be robbing a bank.
No, it wasn't for that reason. I'm not interested in partnership. No.
So
We have to have a talk. We have to have a talk about why do you want to do that and trying to persuade you not to do that. And I must say, Liron, if that is what you're thinking about, I think that after this class, we're going to have a talk also.
I was thinking maybe we could do a class about how to rob the bank.
But I wouldn't really know. Maybe that's your profession. I'll try and speak to you afterwards.
Okay. I'm a bit nervous, but okay. Okay, point number 4, pay off debt first. These ideas, please understand, aren't my ideas whatsoever. A lot of it, almost all of it, is from the Rav, from his different books, from my different conversations with him. I'm really trying to just package it slightly differently and put it into different points. Just from the theme, like we said tonight, was really about action, action, action. Also, if you've just joined us, please don't forget we're giving away the Garden of Riches books to the first.
Books. Yes.
Sorry, thank you. To the first 100 people that are going to be sending us their details. It's their email addresses, their phone numbers, and then their physical address where we can deliver the book, just so we can make sure everything does get to you. So please sign up wherever you see this message. Make sure you get hold of Eli, and we'll really make a point of trying to get it to you as quickly as possible.
Amazing. Thank you.
So our next point is paying off debt. Debt is really important because it's something that happens very quickly and sort of becomes a bit of a snowball where we start off, it becomes quite small and then it becomes bigger and bigger. And one of the biggest reasons for that is because of the interest that's charged specifically on credit cards. So some people could start off with small debts of 3,000 shekels or 3,000 rands or dollars or whatever it might be, and could actually in the end become closer to 20, 30, 40,000 dollars, shekels, etc. That's because the snowball, you just keep digging into it, and the interest and the interest and the interest makes it very difficult to pay off. Now, you can't start getting yourself back on your feet until you start addressing the debt. Now, the debt, there's different ways to address it. First and foremost, say, great, what is the debt? Write it down. Put it on a piece of paper. Say, great, this is the debt that I've got. How do I now start to pay it off? Phone everybody that you owe money to. Don't run away from them. Turn around and say, great, I owe you the money. I'm unable to pay you at the moment. I'd like to give you the recognition to say to you that I owe you the money and the respect to say that I owe you the money. Please, can we find some sort of term? And can we please be in contact so I can slowly pay you back the money? Cancel the credit cards while you're doing all of this because it's going to just get you into further debt. Go more to cash. Try be careful of accounts. You know, these points are really important because each one is another layer that gets you further and further into debt. And debt is also a mindset that forms part of being a victim. If you're going to be a victim, you're going to always get into debt. You're going to say, oh, woe is me, and I'm always in debt, and etc. So what you put out there is what you're going to get back. So if you're going to turn around and say you're a victim, well, that's going to be the reality that you're going to face. If you turn around and you say, I'm going to be wealthy, I'm going to be abundant, well, that's what you're going to put out there. Obviously, dependent on Hashem's will. We can't turn around and say that's going to happen to everybody. But I remember there was a saying that says, I can't even remember it, but it'll come back to me just now, about being slim and wealthy and healthy. So I'm still working on the slim part, but we're getting there. My sore point in my life is my weight, unfortunately. But I actually speak to Hashem every morning about it. And I thank him. And then I really beg him to help me with it. No, we just have a casual conversation. You'll see that's point number 5, learning to talk to Hashem. So make sure you start addressing your debt issues and make sure that you start getting on top of it. Rav, I'd like to hand it over to you. Maybe you can elaborate a bit more on the points.
Well, the problem with debt, we have 2 main problems. The first problem is the verse says to us, Eved loveh leish malveh. A person who's in debt is actually enslaved to the person who he owes the money. Now, we spoke about the importance of surrendering to Hashem, of being Hashem's slave, of being Hashem's servant. You can't have 2 masters. If you are a slave to someone else, that means that you are unable to really subdue yourself to Hashem. You're unable to surrender to Hashem. So again, the gateways will not open, as we explained. So you first of all have to pay off your debt, and then you are not a slave to the person who you owe money, and now you can start surrendering yourself to Hashem. But there's another aspect. A person who's in debt and a person who doesn't pay the money is a person who disrespects other people's money. Now, this world is In this world, we have a rule of measure per measure. The way you treat others is the way Hashem will treat you. If you respect others, says the Mishnah, you will be respected. If you love others, you will be loved. If you disrespect other people's money, Hashem will disrespect your money. If you don't give them back what you owe them, Hashem will not give you what he wants to give you. So again, it's measure per measure, and that's why you've got to pay your debts off as soon as you can.
Great, thanks. Point number 5, talk to Hashem all the time. Hit budadut. Do you know, the Rav, when I meet with him, he says, oh, Liron, this is the hardest one, the hardest mitzvah. This is where your Yetzer Hara is going to really come to you with everything that he's got. And believe it or not, he's true. I really try and the best I can to hit budadut, but just this gets in the way, then that gets in the way, and the power really is doing the hit budadut. Now, hit budadut for many can be an hour. The Ravs often say to me, just get into that habit of doing 15 minutes. The benefit of getting into 15 minutes is it becomes a habit. Habits are formed after 21 days. Once something's a habit, it's something that becomes easier to build onto. How do you talk to Hashem? You talk to Hashem as if you're talking to a friend, as if you're talking to a father. You reach out to Hashem to say, Hashem, I need your help. I'm just going through a really hard time at the moment. Help me realize where I am and what I'm going through. Help me to understand the challenges that I'm going through. Help me to know that everything comes from you. Help me to know that you love me. And that was something we spoke about earlier on, and our generation has forgotten that. Somehow our parents, maybe were a bit strict with us, and somehow we maybe think that our parents don't love us subconsciously. I'm not sure what the reasoning for that is, but we've all forgotten that Hashem actually loves us. We see all these challenges and we think, oh, Hashem hates me. It's not the case. Today, I'm not trying to turn around and say, geez, let me be hard on myself and knock myself down. I'm trying to really open myself up and be a bit more vulnerable with everybody to say, all of us go through these challenges, and the benefit of knowing that somebody else goes through these challenges is sometimes it makes it easier for you to connect with them. And it doesn't put the points out there, it points them here and makes them much easier to connect with. So please, it's very important. Talk to Hashem. Whatever challenges you're going through, whatever you are, even if you want to just say thank you, even if you want to just laugh, or if you want to cry, whatever it might be. Like I know when I went through this difficult challenge that I had last week, I said, Hashem, help me get back to my fundamentals. Like I've just forgotten my fundamentals within 3 hours. I've forgotten my fundamentals. And it helps. Hashem wants us to. Sometimes whatever we're going through, it's only taking place because Hashem wants to nudge us to be able to talk to him. And that you must never forget about. All this is just a knock on the door saying, hello, I'm here. I'd like to chat a bit today. Please, can we connect? You know, I'm a very A personality, so I'm very driven. I can be on that horse and just keep riding and riding and riding. And my wife will sometimes say, well, let's talk. And I'm thinking, but I'm riding and I'm riding. She said, well, let's catch up. I can't. I've got to get to the end. I've got to get to the goal. And we forget about that. We forget to connect with the people around us because we're so, again, in our heads and so not practical, and we're so trying to get ourselves to different points. And the essence is to turn around and take a step back and say, okay, Hashem, you're the boss. That's sometimes easier said than not, especially for somebody that is the boss. You know, it's a bit difficult to turn around and say, well, you're the boss, not me. But these points are the reality of our situation. And that's the essence of who we are, and that's the essence of what it might be. It sometimes might be hard to look at other people and say, oh, why have they been given so many things? It doesn't make sense. But it's not meant to make sense. These are just challenges to bring us closer to Hashem and to help us to elevate ourselves. Again, how do we turn around and then say, oh, Hashem, wow, what bracha. Just beautiful to see how much you've given them. That's amazing. It's beautiful to see how generous you are. Wow, thank you. Be happy for other people. There's nothing wrong that people have been successful. Maybe it's not our turn this time. Maybe it's our turn in another lifetime, or maybe even this time it's further down the road. But these fundamentals are there to just keep bringing us back and keep helping us being in check to make sure that we don't get overwhelmed and don't start feeling sorry for ourselves and, again, becoming the snowball. So, Rav, I'm going to hand it over to you. Maybe there's a few extra points that you can add on to.
I'm going to concentrate on 3 points of Itbodedut which are relevant to this class's topic, which is riches and abundance. First of all, when we speak to Hashem, we are creating a connection with Hashem. We're opening the gateways. Now, some people are going to say, no, I love Hashem in my heart and everything is fine. Imagine if we would now be sitting here completely silent and I would be connecting to you through my heart. Well, what would happen is you'd never ever tune into this program again. Try do that with your wife. Don't speak to her a single word and tell her, I'm broadcasting what my heart feels towards you. That is going to end very quickly, okay? You can't escape it. Connection is through words. It is through speech. If you don't speak, you don't connect. So if we want to connect to Hashem, we've got to speak to him. That's point number one. Point number two is when we speak to Hashem, again, we are surrendering to Hashem. We're realizing that he is the king of the world. He is the boss. Everything comes from him, and we are only here to do his will and to accept it happily. If you don't speak to him and you don't do that, you'll never really be able to surrender. Point number three, we all have our difficulties and hardships that tend to tarnish us a bit. It's like as if we have a layer of spiritual dirt that is preventing us from tuning in properly to what we need to do. Now, we need to have a daily cleansing, just like we have a daily shower and a daily bath. We have to have a daily spiritual cleansing. And the way we do that is through Itbodedut. We speak to Hashem about our problems. We cleanse ourselves. We take off that layer of dirt by speaking to Hashem. And every time you'll do an Itbodedut, you'll notice you come out feeling so much cleaner, so much purer. And that is something that we need in order to be also spiritually clean, to accept the abundance Hashem wants to give us.
Beautiful. Thanks very much, Rav.
Wow. Amazing, Rav Liron. We're enjoying every second. Keep this 10-point action plan going.
Good. Point number 6, give charity. So this one's fairly easy, but fairly difficult. Sometimes I'm amazed when I speak to people, they'll all tell me what difficulties they're going through in their lives. And I say, cool, how much charity are you giving? And they're saying, nothing. You can't, that's not the way life works. Hashem's asked us to share, and sharing is important. And the one concept is you put out, what you put out is what you get back in life. And I think that's very true. The other concept is Hashem says, we'll give charity and I'll give it back to you. And I think that is definitely true, but I think it's a concept that sometimes I don't want us to get too caught up into say, oh, well, let me give so I can get back. Rather give for the sake of giving, to share, because a lot of people need help. A lot of people have less than you have. You might say, geez, well, I've got so little. Wherever you are, there's another person down the road that has even less of that. Thank God my grandmother, please God, is on her way to her 100th birthday in May of this year. And she still is very strict in giving tzedakah. She says, no, we have to give tzedakah, we have to do this. And I'm always amazed. I'm thinking, geez, well, half the family is helping you because unfortunately you haven't been able to keep the finances that you need to, because just as you get older, the money unfortunately runs out, and the family is more than happy to do that. But the fact that she still realizes that she still wants to give is such a beautiful gift, such a beautiful thing. The Torah says, please, it's important that you give. You have to give. You have to give between 10 to 20% of what you earn. I was at a dinner with the Rav recently that he held for business owners to part of raising some money for the yeshiva. And he gave a story of a bartender who did exceptionally well, and he gave 50% of whatever he earned. And the Rav's unfortunately not here, but Rav Elgrod, maybe you can confirm with me, but from what my understanding and my takeaway from the Rav was, is that he himself actually gives 50%. Now, there you become a true partner with Hashem. I've often thought, geez, that is an unbelievable place to be. I'm not at that place. I'd love to be able to get there, but I still think that it's something nice to strive for. And even if it's not 10%, start with something small, because everything that you put out there helps change the cycle. That instead of it being negative, you're bringing in positivity. Instead of it being just about you, you're bringing in other people, and we're making it a part of us, part of a bigger world. And Am Yisrael, what goes Am Echad, which is so important. I don't mean to be waffling on the point. I'm just trying to think of how to bring it all together. But Rav, maybe then let me hand it over to you to elaborate these. And the 3 questions that we've got around this is, what is the spiritual benefits of giving charity? How much charity ideally should one give? And what do you do if you have no money at the end of the month to give charity? Add
in one more point.
Yes, please.
Thank you. We'll
speak about that also. Okay, first of all, when we're talking about giving charity, there are 2 main points which will explain to us why it's so important giving charity. The first point, we're always talking about this point of surrendering to Hashem. It says in the verse, Li hakesef li hazav. Hashem says, all the money is mine. When we give charity because Hashem commands us to give charity, we are actually surrendering to Hashem's will and showing ourselves and the world that the money is not really ours, it's Hashem's. He just deposited it in our hands, and we're now supposed to hand it over to the people who the money really belongs to. So that again is an act of surrender. But there's another reason for that. As Jews, we must understand, we want to be rich not for our own self-pleasures. Again, not that it's bad to have a beautiful house and a beautiful car and go on a beautiful vacation, but the main reason that as Jews we want and we need money is in order to do Hashem's will, to help others, to do mitzvahs, to do good things, to do charity, to help other people. That is what Hashem wants us to do with the money that belongs to him, that he gives us, to see that we are doing what we should do in the proper manner, helping others. So by us giving charity, we're actually broadcasting to ourselves and to Hashem, Hashem, I am doing the right thing with the money you're giving me. Give me more money, I'm going to give more charity. Now, Liron asked how much money and how much charity should a person give a month. Well, it says specifically in the Shulchan Aruch, in Siman Reish Nun Tet 259, a person should give a tithe, 10% of what he makes. Now, there's a way to calculate it. We're not going to go into it now because it's a bit intricate. And if a person is able to give more, he should give 20%. Now, of course, this applies to a regular person. A person who is extremely rich and can give much more should be giving more. I heard once a terrible story that happened with a very, very rich person who was killed in an accident. And they came to Rav Steinemann, a blessed memory, and they asked him, but it says, tzedakah tatzil mimavet, a person who gives charity will be saved from death. How was he killed? Rav Steinemann said, I agree he was very rich. I agree he gave a lot of money. Did he give a tithe? Did he give 10% of everything that he had and that he earned? Because only then will charity save you from death. If he didn't give, even though he gave great sums, that's not what he was supposed to do. So we can see from here the importance of giving a tithe at least of what you have. Now, what happens if a person doesn't have money at the end of the month? Here we come into a conflict, we can say, between the halachic outlook and the spiritual outlook. From a halachic outlook, a person who doesn't have any money to give needs to go to a rabbi who will explain to him exactly what he is supposed to give. There's a minimal amount of money which a person should give every single year. But from the spiritual point of view, the Gemara says in Tractate Makos on page 9 that a person who gives aser kadeshet tasher, when you give a tithe, Hashem will give you riches back. So in other words, from a spiritual point of view, even though you don't have money, if you give, you'll see that you have money. So here we come to a contradiction. A person should go to his rabbi, to his mentor, and take advice what to do, which is the correct thing and the good thing for him and his family. Now we're talking about charity, and we're speaking about Machzah Shekel. One of the unique things about Adar and about Purim is that we have many mitzvahs which apply to charity. One of the mitzvahs in Purim is we've got to give matanot la'evyonim. We've got to give poor people money so that they can be able to buy all their necessities for their Purim Suda, the Purim meal, and have a beautiful, rich Purim meal. This also applies to Machzit Shekel. In the times of the Beis HaMikdash, every single Jew had to give a sum of money to the Beis HaMikdash in order to buy the sacrifices that were sacrificed all year round. Today we don't have a Beis HaMikdash, so our sages say give it to what is considered to be the replacement of the Beis HaMikdash, which is a spiritual place, a place which teaches spirituality, which teaches Torah, which spreads the word of Hashem, a yeshiva, a koilel, a spiritual institute. For example, and I'm saying this, I myself give my Machzah Shekel, the Institute of Rav Shalom Arush. That's what we do all day. We spread Torah. We spread spirituality. We're only here to give. If you look at the people around us here, I'm sorry to say, I've been working in yeshiva for many years, and I don't have a magnificent car. We get a salary, but we're not in here to taking. We're in here to giving. So giving yeshiva and giving the institute is a wonderful place to put your Machzah Shekel. Now, what is Machzah Shekel? Machzah Shekel depends on the value of silver. Now, I asked Rabbi Eliyahu to check for me the value of silver. How much is the value of silver today?
So he prints it out. 176 shekels, 26 agorot.
1 gram. Well, no, this is 31 grams. How much is 1 gram? 2.45.
2.4.
Okay, so 2.45.
Oops,
the way you the way you calculate Machzit Shekel, the best way to do it is
more.
No. Nice try. You multiply 1 gram. You're supposed to give 10 grams of silver, which is 24.5 shekel, and add the VAT, which is 17%, which means in order to get to the correct sum, the best thing would be to give 30 shekel as Machzit Shekel. Now, if you can give 30 shekel for each member of your family, that's the best thing. There are some people who are very strict about giving 3 times Machzit Shekel for every single family member, because that's what it says in the Torah. Now, if you're finding it difficult, at least try and give 1 machzit shekel of 30 shekel for every single family member that you have. We spend so much more money on other nonsense that giving machzit shekel, 30 shekel for every single family member that we have is really a small sum of money compared to all the other nonsense that we waste our money on. And this is a mitzvah that will open the gateways to riches and abundance. And you can contact the connection that's written on you'll see it on our screen. You can contact the connection and you can contact our people. You can donate machzit shekel to yeshiva.
And it's on our platforms, on our Facebook, we have a link, everything's
and
there.
Rest assured, the money here is going for the best purposes in the world, for Torah, for tefillah, and for spreading the word of Hashem to the whole world.
Amazing. Wow.
Great. So firstly, I've actually done it. I signed up the minute it came out from the yeshiva. I'm a very big supporter of the yeshiva. I really love the yeshiva and the work that everybody does here. Rabbi, I mean, if I'm looking at what Eli gave us, I know he's saying to us that maybe he made a mistake, but I'm just wondering if Eli's trying to rob a bank.
I almost got the gold. I actually got this from the gold website.
I made a mistake. I'm sorry, but I'm saying I'm looking there. It's £2,400.
What? Yeah, well, that one, 2,400.
Nice. Very nice. 1 kilogram.
I think your conversation needs to be with Eli.
No. He printed out. It's written here: an ounce, a kilogram, and a gram.
I don't know.
Machzit shekel should be calculated.
He's the rabbi. I knew he'd
10 grams of silver. That's the easiest way to calculate it.
Yes, I still think you should meet with him, not me.
I agree.
I didn't.
I'll tell you something. There are different opinions about machzit shekel, and there is no opinion that says it's 1 kilogram. Nevertheless, I think me and Rebelio are going to have a serious
What about dollars?
conversation.
I want to know dollars and sterling. How much?
I'm really sorry, but
approximate.
Again, it depends. Calculate this according to the value of the dollar of the sterling. I'm not very well into foreign currency.
People think it's $0.50 literally, like that's the 3 of them.
Okay, there is a dispute here between the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah how much should one give a machzit shekel. The Ramah says you should give half of the coin that is customary in the place that you live in, which means if you live in Israel, it's half a shekel. You live in America, it's $0.50. You live in England, it's half a pound. But the Shulchan Aruch says, no, give the value that was given at the times of the Beis HaMikdash. Now, one should know, you can always try and excuse my English, weasel your way out of giving charity by saying, I can go according to the Ramah and I can go and give half a coin. So here, I gave half a shekel and it's wonderful. The way you give charity, the more you give, the more Hashem is going to give to you, because Hashem can see that you're surrendering to his will. If you want to give and realizing that it's not your money, Hashem will give you much more money to give. And if you want to be stingy and give a small amount of money, Hashem will say, fine, you don't need that much money. You're not giving that much anyway, so why should I give you more?
Well, let's go ahead.
I think we should open up our wallets and start giving it.
Yes, let's just give. But we have
then you're going to say I tried to rob a bank.
No. It's all online. Thank God. You know, personally, I have lots of stories of these kind of things, and I just want to say a very quick story. It reminded me, 50 pence is how much I owed a boy when I was in school, and I didn't give it back to him. I needed it for a bus one time. I was missing money, and he kept coming up to me as a little boy. I'm 50p, you know, a little boy, English boy. And I was like, get out of here, you know. And anyway, so to the point, suddenly one day, I was standing actually in Harrow bus station. Anyone recognize that area? And he comes up to me, he's not so little, he's actually pretty tall. And he's got a bunch of friends. Give me my 50 pence, the two boys. And I'm like, and I have a few of my friends, I'm like, should we start, you know? And I'm like, nah, I don't think so. At that time, in front of my friends, I couldn't do it because I was a young kid, not so, principled as we're learning here. So later on, behind the wall of the school, because he was at the same school, I gave him the 50 pence quietly. Anyway, later on, I was dancing around a fire in Lag BaOmer. I just had my hair cut. I got rid of my long hair, starting to do tshuva, and I see the same kid. And not only that, it's holding my hand. I'm dancing around the fire. And we look at each other, and we're both in the process of coming back to Hashem.
Oh, amazing.
Of all the, and all the kids in all of London, and this kid's dancing with me. I mean, I just cut my hair that day, and I was a very significant moment in my Jewish journey.
Wasn't that a good investment of 50p?
Yeah, I gave it back. And I thank Hashem every day that I don't have, debts. I try and live according to my means. And I think this is one of the most important principles you gave over. Which point was it again? It was point
number 4.
4.
Pay off debt.
Amazing.
Debt, yeah.
So we're at point 7 now, is that
yes,
right?
now I know we're getting close to the hour. I don't know if that's okay. I
Yeah, we
just
can go a
wanted to
little
ask,
bit over. Yeah, no
no,
problem.
fine. Just to ask everyone's permission because I think that's also important.
Yeah.
Please,
It's okay. Since we're talking about riches, I
Yes.
will charge you per the hour afterwards. Don't
Let's
worry.
talk very quickly.
Everything's fine. No. It's fine.
I'm sure I can cover it in 1 minute.
No, this is such an important class. I think everyone here wants to listen and to hear what are the 10 points.
Okay, fine, great. The next, the power of Shabbat. Now, here, either way, I didn't know that, unfortunately, Rav Arush wasn't going to be with us. I thought maybe it'd connect through being at home. But I actually made these with Rav Elgrod in mind because, like Rav Elgrod told you, we've got a very good relationship and often go get his wisdom in life and his guidance. And we met about 3 years ago.
Let's be specific. I actually said we're friends.
Well, public, no, thank God. No, you're like family, you're not friends. You're somebody that I always look up to. And like I say, the beauty of listening to you talk is how you just rattle off these mukarot. Like I just sit there and I think, geez, Hashem, maybe make me come back as like Rav Elgrod next time so I can at least rattle off these mukarot like that. I'm thinking I can barely remember from today to tomorrow. How does he remember these makrot? But it's like poetry.
The studio's giving us 5 more minutes for whatever the cheshbon is. So
fine.
We're going to have
the
to
power
go
of
through
Shabbat.
the last 3.
Rav, you've spoken to me about this. I'm going to hand it straight over you.
We say that Shabbat, we sing Shabbat Mekor HaBracha. Shabbat is the source of the blessing. Now, why is Shabbat the source of the blessing? Logically, there's no logical reason to rest on Shabbos and not to work for 7 days. Unless, of course, you think that you're exhausted and you need to rest. The reason we rest is, again, we are surrendering to Hashem's will. Hashem says to us, you work for 6 days, you rest on the 7th day. By us resting on Shabbos, we are surrendering to Hashem's will, and Hashem gives us incredible spiritual powers, which you can all feel when we leave the Shabbos. So the Shabbos is the source of the blessing, because that is the pure surrender to Hashem. That's why it says in the Shulchan Aruch, in Siman Reish Mem Bet on Orachaim 242, that a person who doesn't guard the Shabbos is considered to be like a person who's worshipping another god, because the Shabbos is one of the most important, if not the most important things of showing how we surrender to Hashem. So if you don't surrender to Hashem on Shabbos, there's going to be no abundance.
Wow.
Great, beautiful, Rav. I know that there's a lot more depth that we can go into Shabbos, but unfortunately, because of the limitations, and this is, I think, something that I could spend the whole day in the studio talking, but I know that I have to be respectful on everybody's time.
Honestly, so I can give, since we have 5 minutes, I can give a solution. Let Liron speak.
Let Liron speak, and also we'll end off with you speaking with, thank God we mentioned all the campaigns, all the things, but you can finish off the class now. But what we do ask, just as a reminder, everyone to keep praying for the Rav, and we'd like to bring Liron Mazor back for part 2 with Rav Arush himself, obviously Rav Elgrod as well, hopefully myself included, and we'll hopefully have a part 2 of these 10-point action plans with the Rav, and we can go over it with Rav Arush and get a blessing from him in person, because I think this is so important and fundamental for people nowadays in their Emuna and their journey.
Okay, great. Point number 8, and please excuse me for going very quickly. Savings. There's a formula that I could share with you, but I'd actually have to write it down. But there is a formula to creating wealth, and it really boils down to savings. And the essence of what you need to understand is no matter what, don't ever tell me you've got no money, because I remember when I started this process, I would say, oh, I've got no money, I can't save. This was close to maybe 20 years ago. And in the beginning, I said to myself, great, I need to save 10% of what I earn. I think at the time it was about 2,000 Rand or something along those lines. And in the first time I said, okay, great, well, let me save 500 and let me start building up. And behold, what ended up happening is I reversed 3 times in 3 months into a different concrete pole. The sad part of the story is that the car got repaired 3 times. My insurance wouldn't cover me afterwards. The worst part is, and this is going to all laugh at this, I've actually got a buzzer that tells me when I'm about to hit something. So I didn't even listen to the buzzer for whatever reason. It was like making a noise. I thought, whatever. The next minute, bang, was the first one, and I had to pay 2,000 Rand to get that fixed. And then as it was fixed, about 3 weeks or 2 weeks later, bang again. And I thought, I've got to listen to this buzzer. But I had to pay another 2,000. And then the third time it happened, I thought, what? This is impossible. But the lesson that I walked away with is that when you need to, you can actually find the money. It's a matter what do you put and what do you focus on? Now, we're not saying that you have to start off by saving 10%, but there is a reason of saving and why savings is so important. Savings makes you feel better. The more you've got something to rely on, the more money you've got, you slowly start to feel safer in life, and that's psychological, and that psychology makes you feel more positive. And that positivity is really what you need to get yourself to, because the more positive you are, You'll keep hearing it from Rabbi Arush all the time. Smile, he'll go, I can't do the beautiful smile that he's got, but he does this most magnificent smile, and he says, keep smiling, keep smiling. And it's true, because the more positive you are, the more you're able to attract to yourself. Now, saving is hard. I'm not saying that it's something that's simple, and we could do a whole hour just on the concept of savings and investing. Because our time is limited, I'm just saying to you, please, start putting money aside. The idea is to save and then ultimately start to investing. You could use saving and investing as one word if you wanted to. I'm just using the words that people are familiar with. But the essence of what it boils down to is the more money you start to have and you start to see, whether it being from a savings or from an investment perspective, the safer you start to feel in life. And that's okay. Even though we use the concept of making sure you're happy with your lot, sometimes it still doesn't mean that you have to be a pauper, that you can walk around and not have anything. It is important to have these things because that's the way this world works. And we live in this world. We don't live up there. So let's start with that point being start saving and investing. Point number 9, you need to constantly create positive energy in your life. Things can be very difficult. Things can get very stale very quickly. You need to make sure that you're looking for positivity because positivity keeps you happy. Sometimes making sure that you take a diary and you say, great, let's plan the next 4 months to have different activities. So you've always got something to look forward to. You've always got something to be excited about. Many days can be very hard, but try and always find the positive in the day. Do you know, one of the deals when they were going really difficultly last week, I had to drive to Yerushalayim to meet with the client, and unfortunately, it just didn't work out, and there was a bit of complexity within the actual deal itself. And the partners that I was working with, I said to them, okay, well, at least I got to come to a beautiful drive, and I've got 3 young kids and a baby, and I thought, okay, well, at least there wasn't any noise. And they were just laughing to say, geez, well, look how you're able to turn something that was a bit negative into something that's really positive. And the positive makes it easier because everything has got dual sides. There's always positive and there's always negative. You know, it's like in Chinese, you see the yin and the yang. There's always positive and there's always negative. Every situation has an equal amount of positive and an equal amount of negative. The question is, where do we put our attention? And you need to start focusing and saying, great, now is the time to take action. Now is the time to change. And I can change. I will change. And I'm going to change because we're going to do this together as a team. And these videos are here that every time you're having a bad day, fall back on them because that's what they're there for. They're there that you can just keep looking at them and looking at them. The Rav's got brilliant short videos that are such a great way to snap you straight away out of being in a negative situation. And will always, the best is always when he says, okay, smile. You know, that famous smile now.
We missed that. Yeah.
The last is love your neighbor, and this is a point the Rav's really been pushing on a lot, to say not love your neighbor and get caught, because we don't want that. That was just a joke. Okay, it was a joke, Rabbi. Just a bad joke. We'll delete that joke. But the essence is turning and saying, Am Yisrael. We need to remember who we are. Here we've got 3 different people from 3 different backgrounds, and we all connect to Hashem in different ways. But somehow it seems to be, if I'm Haredi, well, then I'm Haredi and you are this. It's not. I'm not Mizrahi, I'm not Dati, I'm not anything. I'm a Jew and you're a Jew. And that's the essence of it. And we need to get and open up our hearts to each other. Do you know, sometimes I say, geez, I wish that we'd get attacked by aliens. And I know that's a bit far-fetched and a bit extreme. But sometimes that's what it would take for us to all be able to realize that we're actually all the same. There's no real difference. Do you know, sometimes even with different religions, and it's not chat to compare again which religion is better or isn't. The essence is many people want to connect with Hashem. It could be through a different religion, and not from a Jewish perspective, but I'm saying from different people. From within Judaism, Shivim Panim LaTorah, there's 70 faces for Torah. There's multiple different ways that you can connect with Hashem. But we all want that connection. So why is it that we put ourselves here because we have one belief system and somebody else there has a different belief system, and therefore we can't connect? Quite the contrary. We can connect and we have to connect. Because again, that's what we were created for. We were created to be connected. We're connected beings. And the essence is what we all love is being close to each other and connecting with each other. Do you know, Corona, I think the biggest issue that Corona taught us is without connection, it feels pretty lonely. And the more connection we've got, the better we all feel. But we do have to stop these barriers of, I'm better, you're better. There's no better. There's just is. And in essence, we don't need to turn around and say, well, my way is right and your way is wrong. The question is, how do we sit around the table and all just talk about Hashem? Just talk about how we connect with Hashem. I've got my way and you've got your way. Do you know, I've got in my office a $1 bill from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I've got a picture of Rabbi Arush. I've got a picture of Rabbi Arush also giving me a bracha. I've got different pictures from different Rabbanim that have given me different things in my life. I've got different challah boards and different challah plates, and each rabbi has given me their own thing. And each one comes from a totally different environment. And the essence of what I've tried to do is say that each one has got something to offer me that can help me grow and become a better person. So I don't look to say, oh, what type of Jew are you? I just turn around and say, wow, amazing, you're a Jew. How do you connect to Hashem? And please, let's really try and take that out. And the point is action. Let's take that out, because I know at the moment that's one of the most important things for the Rav. And turn around and say, great, which other person can I connect with today and show my love to that person, and use that as a refuah for the Rav, that please God, he'll get better, that we can show how powerful his teachings are. And it's not only that his teachings are powerful because it's the essence of Torah. It's just there as our reminder. And he's been doing such an amazing job of reminding us about everything, sort of waking us up in our generation. So let's stay awake. Let's get out there. Let's really make a difference. And thank you, as always, for spending the time with us.
Amen. Thank you. Beautiful class. Beautiful. Class 60 with Liron Mazor. Well, please God, have a part 2 with the Rav himself.
Amen.
And Mitzvah Hashem, you'll be only seeing blessing from this class, and your course and your family and your health. Everything will just get better and better.
Amen.
Please God. And we're also thanking and reminding again the 100 books. Reach out. We have the Love of Israel campaign for the Ravs. Wants us to get your names. Send us your names. Send us your name, address, email for this book. These are obvious ways to connect with us directly and get Emuna Global, which is what this class is all about. Next class 61, please God, we'll have Eli Dax and the formerly known as Waterbury Boys, getting very popular, the new generation of musicians. Very excited to bring them to the studio. Please God, get some music energy going on here. And also, as well as Shefa band, hopefully will be coming in the future. Levi Cohen, INR reached out again. Rudy Rochman when he gets back from his tour. We've got a lot of interesting people that want to come to the class, please God. And we hope in-person tours to LA, Brooklyn, Arizona, UK. We're praying for the Rav to have a full Refuah Shleima and be able to come in person. Until then, we keep getting these Emuna classes more and more strong. We just want to end off a last word from the Rav Dayan Elgrod. Once again, thank you for all the hard work. You put in hours of preparation for this class, as I'm sure Liron Mazor did as well with his course. And we appreciate all the efforts everyone does. And that's up to you now to share these classes so that other people can benefit from them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'd just like to end off with one point, which is very relevant to what Liron said. The last point that he said, love your neighbor, something that is regarding the date that we were speaking about, Purim Katan. Rabbi Natan of Breslev writes this in the Likutei Halachot, in the laws of Birkot HaReiyah, and he brings it in Halacha Dalet in segment number 12. He says the whole essence of Haman was machloikis, was hatred, was trying to cause differences and rifts between Am Yisrael. And the whole point of the Megillah, the whole miracle, was peace, was making shalom amongst us. That's why the Megillah is called Divrei Shalom, words of peace. That's why Mordechai is called Dover Shalom, the speaker of peace. That's why you give Mishloach Manot. Says Rabbi Natan, the greatest combination, the greatest manifestation of peace is on a leap year when we have Purim Koton, because then we are making peace between the moon and the sun, between the lunar cycle and the solar cycle. And that is the essence of peace, knowing that our goal is to love every single one and be at peace with each other, and that's how we'll get a full abundance. Thank you.
Amen. Well, Misha niknas adam, marbim besimcha. Misha niknas adam, marbim besimcha. Tov lahodos l'Hashem, tov lahodos l'Hashem, lezamer l'shimcha elyon.